Good morning, everybody. It is Saturday, um, the 14th of January, and I am doing a quick update for you guys. And, huh, my sound does not look like it is synced. Trying to see what might be running. Alright, so I have several items to show you guys that I've done so far in January, and this is bugging me. I'm not sure what's going on with the sound, but anyway, I'm just gonna get started. So this is some of the Barocco yarn. It is, I had 2 skeins of this in my stash. And if I remember correctly, it was given to me by I've had it for a long time. So it was I think Helen. Like, we used to have like a yearly get together with the local yarn for breakfast group, where we would bring yarn we didn't want or wanted to de-stash, and basically everybody would put all the yarn on the table at Carver's house, and we would just go through there, and you might find something you wanted, or and then whatever was left was donated to one of the local thrift stores or something. But I have picked up these 2 skeins of Burnett Super Value. You see the labels are in bad shape, and it's just been in my stash for a long time. So I excuse me. So I started making a scarf like this one, and I liked the color so much in a way that it was working up that I decided to pull that scarf off, and I made a but I couldn't, because I couldn't remember where I put the second skein. They weren't together, which is weird. So I just unraveled that scarf that I had made like this one, which is like a whole skein of that um Burnett. This is it folded double, so it's a nice scarf. And so I was like, I basically balled this back up, and then I used it to make this hat and this jacket for my grandson. And I just gotta put the buttons on. I picked the buttons out, I just haven't sewn them on. So that's one of my things to do this weekend, is to sew the buttons on so I can give this to him. But it's I put the pattern in when I showed it before, when I was working on it last week, and I put the pattern link to the video from last week. So I'll find the link and I'll post it to this video as well. But it came out wonderfully. I made it a little bit bigger so that he could use it more than 1 year, and then I had enough left over to make this little hat, and I still have some of this brown left over. But yeah, it was a fun little project to do, and I just got, like I said, I just got to put the buttons on it, and then I can give it to him. And so Chunk is my grandson's sister. So like I said, I found the other skein of that Burnett, and so I went ahead and I did this is the bush stitch, or Jamie stitch as some people call it. It might have other names as well. Like I said, it's similar to the cloud stitch, which I think is 2 double crochet, single crochet. You don't do the chain 2 like you do with the bush stitch. So there's variations. There's a Paris stitch that's similar to the bush stitch, but I think it does one chain 1, and then single crochet. So there's a lot of variations to this particular pattern, and they have different names. But I prefer the bush stitch because of the rhythm that I can get in, and the fact that the chain space is easy enough that you can feel it. You don't have to look at what you're doing to work that pattern. So I've made another, like, when I wanted to go through yarn burn through my stash of acrylic, I use the bush stitch because it's so fast for me. And so here is another one, and this was some Mary Maxim yarn. And see how it pulled? It pulled. Sometimes it would pull in stripes. Then it almost looks like flowers, like the petals, like wisteria, like it's hanging, and then the petals, the flowers start falling off. I wish I had some of this in a purple variegated, because that's what it made me think of, was wisteria. When the flower petals are falling off of it. But I did this one. I did it in a here's my seam on the inside where I seen it together in a circle scarf. Infinity scarves have a twist in them. Circle scarves are simply a scarf that's in a circle. So if I wanted to make this into an infinity scarf, I would take and I would put a twist in it like that before I sewed it together. That way, after I sewed it together, you'll always have that crossover, that twist. And that's the symbol for the infinity. So that's what an infinity scarf is. It has to be crossed over permanently in the shape of the infinity symbol. So it has to have that one cross before you sew it together. That is an infinity scarf. A circle scarf is simply a circular scarf. So this was some AC Moore Mill Ends yarn, and it feels a lot like that Barocco remix. This yarn is super stretchy and very drapey. I think I have 7 or 8 skeins of this left, so I might do a hat and fingerless gloves to go with this particular scarf. And this is 2 skeins. Oh yeah, all the scarves I'm showing you guys, except for the Mary Maxim scarf. This was that Mary Maxim value, so this is just 1 skein of that Mary Maxim value, and it's 30 stitches and almost 9 inches wide, for some of those who like stuff like that. So I had to figure that out yesterday for somebody to ask. So yeah, but so this is 2 skeins of that yarn, that Mill Ends yarn. Sometimes you can get some really nice yarn. I'm not sure why this was in the Mill Ends. I don't know, maybe it was the end of a run, or the color wasn't quite the color that they wanted. But all the skeins that, or maybe they had stopped, sometimes they discontinue a yarn, and it goes in, the rest, what's left of it goes in the Mill Ends instead of going out into the shops and stuff. So I could find nothing wrong with this yarn while I was working it. The color, skein to skein, the color was is the exact same. I don't see any faded areas with the color. So I'm not sure why this was in Mill Ends, but I'm glad it was, because I bought there was 3 per bag, and I think I bought 3 or 4 bags of that remix yarn, and it was like $6 a bag. So you can't beat that, not for the yardage that's on these, and for the quality of this yarn. I want to do a burn test, because it might be 100% acrylic, but to me it feels like it might have, I'm not sure, but it feels like it might have some merino in it. So it could be one of those that's like 5% merino, 95, or 10% merino, 90% acrylic, or something like that. But it doesn't feel like it's all acrylic. So yeah, so that was this one. Alright, and so next we have my favorite colorway of all time, the Nova Scotian Sky colorway from Hobby Lobby. And this is also 2 skeins of that yarn, of the Nova Scotian Sky. And I've ordered some more of this, because I want to always have some of this in my stash, because it's just such a beautiful colorway, and it's like fun to crochet with and knit with. I've made my son fingerless gloves and crochet fingerless gloves with this yarn, and they both turn out beautifully. The colorway is just, I don't know what it is about this colorway that speaks to me, but I love it. I love this colorway. And so this is the Nova Scotian Sky, also done in the bush stitch. Like I said, when I want to burn through stash, that's the stitch. That's my go-to stitch. I would love to do a full size, like a queen size blanket in this stitch, in this colorway for my bed. And I'm not normally a blue, well, I like blues, dark blues, like navy blues. But something about this colorway, just I love it. I love it. All right, so next we have some yarn that was gifted to me from my friend Barb, and there was like some small balls of this bulky yarn, and I made this hat. It's actually two colorways. You can tell from the top to the bottom. The bottom part is this colorway here, and I didn't know there was a second ball of this. So when I was looking through it again yesterday to pick out the next colors to use from the next hats I'm gonna do, I found another ball of it. So this will be most of a hat, and then I'll probably finish it up with this, which is, this is a single ply singles, and then this is a a ply yarn, but it's a thicker, chunkier yarn, and this has wool in it. This feels like Encore, or it could be Universal. Universal has a very similar, but I'm thinking it's Plymouth Encore because that's exactly what it feels like and presents itself like. So, but this will go good together, and so I'm gonna do another hat, and then if I run out of this yarn, if it's not enough, because it's only 54 yards, so I'm gonna definitely need some more yarn to do a hat. So I'll be using this. I'll probably use this to do the brim and ribbing with this part, and then do the rest of the hat in that. But this is the hat that I made from the other one, and I know I used almost all of that ball of that yarn, because it starts right about here. It starts right about here and goes down. So I used that whole ball. So I'm gonna need a little bit to finish it up. And this is also some yarn that she had in there that was partially used skeins, and this is two different yarns. One was in a ball, and that's the top part to right about here, and then this part down is the other ball of the yarn. And this makes me think of an impressionist painting, like the Monet and stuff like that. That's what these colorways make me think of. So those are two of the hats, and put my neckerchief on. I love wearing this thing. It keeps my hair off my neck, and I need to make me some. This one came from my friend. Oh, if I hadn't said nothing, I'd been able to pop her name off right there. She knows who she is. When we went to Maryland Sheep and Wool. Okay, so what I'm working on right now is I'm working on another scarf using, this is Knit Picks Brava. How I know, because she has a bunch of other Knit Picks Brava that was in there, and this is definitely Knit Picks Brava. The red is darker than this. It's a darker red. This is blowing out like an orangey red, but it's not. It's like more of a Christmas holly berry type of red. And so there was two balls of it, and so this is how far I got. Let me see if I can find where I already wove. I try to weave in the ends as I go, but this is where I wove the ends in. So from here, from this hand to this hand, is the new ball of yarn. It was almost a full ball of yarn. She hadn't used much out of there. So this, I'll just keep going with this until I'm done, and then I'll have a nice red scarf. I could always order some more of this Brava if I wanted to make a hat or fingerless gloves to go with that if I choose to. So the other thing that I have cast on is I cast on the collar for my grandpa sweater by Joji Locatelli, and she said to do the slip as to knit for the edges, but I decided to slip as to purl for the edges, because to me it gives you a neater edge. As you can see, it'll be easy to pick up these stitches on this collar on both sides. So this is the yarn I'm using is from Hirschner's, and it's the Knob Hill yarns in the Nova colorway. This is a number 5 bulky, which is what the pattern calls for. This yarn is beautiful, and I'm thinking of getting some more of it in a different, like a gray. Like I love grays, y'all know that. And to do a crochet sweater after I finish this bulky knit sweater. Um, the other thing was I started crocheting that willow yarn that I got from Hershner's, and I forgot that this was merino. I was thinking it was just a little acrylic, and I looked at the label and I was like, oh wow, this is merino, so this is going to need to be blocked. But then I was like, it really is not going to do it justice, even though it looks good with this pattern, and it's not really going to do it justice. So I'm gonna frog this, and I'm gonna use the one row, one row hand spun stitch pattern from the Yarn Hearted. I'm gonna use that instead and make a scarf, and that way I'll get the most bang from my buck. Cause I only got 2 of these. Cause on the picture it looked like it was like even up here. See how that looks like burnt orange and purples and lavender. Well, that's what I thought, in salmon. Like that's what I thought this was, like the orange side of salmon. But when I got it, this actually is a pink. Those are actually pinks and reds, and it does have like a purpley pink in there. So I'm not a pink person, y'all know that I'm not a pink person. so yeah, this will end up being gifted to someone. But I'm gonna frog this, and I'm gonna knit it using that one row hand spun scarf, because it only has well, if I kept crocheting it, it would end up, I would make it into a circle cowl, and I didn't make it wide. So, and it's a merino. It's like on the lighter side. It's a lace weight yarn. This is not a fingering weight by any means. I already held it with some of my fingering weight yarn. It is not a fingering weight yarn, but it is nice and squishy, very nice and squishy. So that's why I want to get the most bang for my buck, and knit this instead of crocheting it. So yeah, it's definitely gonna get frogged. What am I gonna be doing next? I have to go through my whips. I think I have the baby blanket I'm still working on, but that is like a long-term whip. But I have made progress on it. I'm on the 3rd ball of yarn. This is the 3rd ball of yarn. I have one more ball of yarn after that, if it's not as big enough that I want it to be when I finish it. So this is the 3rd ball of yarn, and this is a basket weave stitch. It's every 10 rows I switch over. And this is Hobby Lobby yarn. It's a tweed, and it's called Pastels. It's just like a typical baby type of yarn that you would see. And I have one more skein of this. I bought 4 skeins, and I'm on my 3rd one. I bought this when Luna was, before she was born, to make. This was supposed to be for Luna. And it was just like, I was only working on it on my lunch breaks at work, and I don't know, this color just wasn't doing it for me. Even though I like the pattern and I like the color, I just did not have it wasn't inspiring me at all. So that's why I made her the blankets using the Yarn Eater Bavarian stitch blanket. I used that to make her some blankets with, and I used the bush stitch to make her some blankets, and I crocheted them like, it was like that. It was fast, it was fun, it was easy, and it made me want to keep working on them. You know what I'm saying? And so when you get a project that feels like it's slogging, it might not. It's not the yarn. The yarn is great yarn. It's the colorway. I'm not a pastel-y. Even though my yarn back there might look like there's some pastels in there, those are colors I usually bought for to make neutral type of things for a boy or girl, or like the purples and stuff, because that was my mom's color. I always try to keep some of that in my stash, and now I just do it just out of habit, even though she's gone. But there's other people in my family that like purple. Marissa likes purples and stuff, so Um, but yeah, and like I said, a lot of my stash I didn't purchase. It was gifted to me from good friends, and so I need to start making stuff with that stash. But if people start giving me yarn, then I'll have because when people give me stuff, sometimes I feel guilty. Like I gotta work through this yarn first, and then I can go back to working with my stash. And a lot of stuff that I make, I end up donating when people give me yarn. So that ends up being part of the donations, the earmark, or like when I keep stuff in the car, if I see somebody like they need something, I'll just stop and say, hey, you want a hat or want a scarf? So a lot of some of the stuff I'm making is going to end up in the car. But when we're during the wintertime when we're driving around, if I see somebody like the cold, just give it to them. It ain't gonna hurt nothing, and then it'll do them better. And that's for me. That's like I say. That's my way of tithing. That's my way of giving back. um and that's for me. That's how what I do for me, to tithe and give back, because I don't like organized religion. That's the only way to explain it. I just do not like the things that churches are today. They're businesses, and as a business, it's all about the business. It's not about the people no more. Yeah, they some of them are do good works with the monies and stuff that they raise, but they do good works for strangers. And giving's supposed to start at home. So you have people in the community in some of these places that these churches, and I'm just gonna say it, black churches don't do nothing for. But they'll send people to Africa. They'll send people all over the world to help other people. But you got people right on your doorstep that don't have and need, and you won't even help them. So that's why I don't like organized religion, because it's a business now. It's not about people. It's not about your community. And the cat knocked down the cup. It's all about what's going to make them look good. Looking good is more important than doing good. So, in a lot of these churches too, you see how the way they dress, the cars they driving, all this stuff that they doing, that is not the message that I grew up with when I grew up going to church and stuff. So yeah, my grandma always told me you could pray alone in your closet and God will hear you, just as well as if you went to some big church with a bunch of sinners around you. So, she ain't never told me nothing wrong. Um, and so the next things I have on my desk to make hats with are, I have, this was another one that she started using, and I'm not sure. Let me see. She left a ball band in here, but I'm not sure if that ball band goes with that yarn. It might, but it says it's Peyton's worsted classic wool. That's what it says the colorway is on it, if it has a colorway. Plum heather. So this is Peyton's yarn. All right. So this is a wool. Let me see how much wool is it. 100% worsted. Yes, it's 100% wool. So this is end up being something nice. She started making something with it, and then maybe she didn't like it. She probably started a swatch, or maybe she used it and this was what was left. But it feels good. So I'll figure out something to make with that. Maybe I'm not sure how much yardage this is, but looks like it's 2 full skeins and a partial. It might be almost 3 balls of it. So I'll look up some stuff on Ravelry and see some of the projects people have made with it and see how many yards is it and whatnot. But I also have 2 balls of this Just yarn, which is a premier. I have 2 of the dark, it's like blue jeans, this color, and then I have 3 skeins of the gray, and I love grays. So these are more than likely be hats. If I do a divine hat with these, it's gonna take one. You could do a short divine hat, beanie style, with 1 skein of this. But if you want to do a bigger one, you're gonna need like a skein and a half. I'm pretty sure you can knit a Ross hat with 1 skein of this. So we'll see what's gonna happen with that. But those are the yarns I have out right now to do quick projects with. and so that's what's going on in my yarny world. I have to, the only things whips that I have that I'm not working on right now is of course socks. I have 3 sock whips, um, and one remnant, like just odds and ends blanket that's a square. Not, it started out like a granny square, and I've just been adding different stitches to it. So it's just gonna be as that my bits and pieces bag fills up, I'll go and I'll start adding more to that blanket. I also have the big blanket, which after I get rid of this stuff on my desk and finish my grandpa sweater, then I'm just gonna just take and dedicate a week or two of crocheting just that blanket so I can go ahead and get it finished, the big king size blanket, and then that'll be done, and that'll be like almost with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 9 more skeins of yarn gone. Um, so I can go through my stash pretty quick using that bush stitch, my acrylic stash, because my most of my alpaca and my good yarn stash, that's for knitting projects. Most of that's for knitting projects. So yeah, so I just frog that. So I have to get that pattern and look at it, and then I can start it again and figure out what size needles I want to use for that, because it's only 147 yards. This is 147 yards in each of these. So yeah, so I wanted to get as much as I can out of that pattern. So, but that's it. That's all that's going on with me. I hope all you guys are doing good. Y'all take care. Enjoy your yarn. Happy New Year. And that's that.